terrible. Rode, it's terrible. All right. Okay, do we need the epic B-roll? It's a microphone. We know what microphones look like. Let's just do the review. Can we just do the review? This is the Rode NT Mini USB. It's a cardioid condenser microphone. So what does that mean? Well, cardioid means it picks up from the front, a little bit to the sides, and almost nothing to the back. Condenser typically means it's going to be really, really sensitive. And by sensitive, we mean it's typically going to sound crisp, clear, a lot brighter than dynamic microphones. And condenser microphones are often very nuanced. In other words, they hear all the little mouth noises, all the little smacks. If you have a dry mouth or you click with your tongue a little bit, it's going to pick up all that stuff. And we'll talk a little bit later about whether these are good things or bad things, but that's what this is. It's a cardioid condenser USB microphone. So being a USB microphone, it plugs in directly to the computer. It does not plug in at all to an audio interface or any professional audio gear. And it comes with a brand new free RodeConnect software, which allows for some really cool effects processing that happen on the mic itself, not in the computer, but you use the computer to enable it. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. If you're here for the TLDR, did I say that right? TLDR. The short version is, I really like this. It's not for me, but I think it's probably for you if you're watching this video. It's got good sound quality, although not great. It's not my favorite tone. It's built really well. The RodeConnect software makes this fun and exciting. It opens up possibilities in the future. And if you want to know more than that, stay tuned. We're going to go through every single feature in great detail right now. By the way, I'm Brian Miller. Thanks so much for tuning into Audio for Content Creators, where we help you sound better and level up for all your content creation needs. And of course, the disclaimer that you know I'm going to give you, Rode sent me this for free. I have a relationship with Rode. I've worked with them in the past. They have never paid me, but they do send me free products from time to time. They don't get to see these videos before I release them. They have no say in the videos whatsoever. They find out, just like you do, what my thoughts are when the video goes live. All right, let's go through the features one by one. First, this is a solid, sturdy build. It's got some weight to it, but it's not too heavy. It's heavy enough that I can use it on a scissor arm, and it will stay wherever I put it. And this is a very cheap scissor arm, by the way. This is one of those like $18 scissor arms from Amazon. So it'll stay wherever I put it, which is fantastic. Some of the lighter USB microphones actually don't have enough weight for the scissor arm to function, so that's fantastic. And the grill, it has some give to it, which is something I've never ever reviewed or cared about, but I've watched so much podcastage over the last couple of years that Bandrew, you got me feeling the grill as if it matters. I love you. On the front, we've got a multi-function dial. It's got the little headphone symbol, which tells you that if you go up or down, you can actually raise or lower the level of your headphones for monitoring all the audio coming out of your computer, which is great. And if you're not connected to the RodeConnect software, you can press the button in. It'll have a little click, and that'll engage or disable the no latency audio monitoring. I mean, it's not technically no latency. It's very low latency. It may as well be no latency, which means you can hear yourself in your own headphones, which is a fantastic feature. Now, if you're plugged in, if you've got the RodeConnect software connected, then this doesn't do anything pressing in because you handle all of that in the software. And on the back, you've got the USB-C connection and the 3.5mm headphone jack. The microphone also comes with a very nifty, very cool magnetic base that is absolutely useless, but it's nice it comes with it. I say it's useless because it would basically make the microphone about 3 inches off the desk, which is useless because this is where the microphone would be if it were actually sitting on my desk. I just lowered the scissor arm to about the position that the mic would have to be using the desk mount, and as you can hear, this is just, it's totally, this is not good. This is not what you want. I mean, I could angle this up. It's not going to be much better angled up. You really do want to be able to put this on a mic stand or a scissor arm and get it much closer to your mouth. By the way, here's a little pro tip that I've given in the past that some people find really, really interesting that has nothing to do with this microphone, but the way that frequencies come out of your mouth, the high-pitched frequencies, mostly they come out of your throat, they hit the roof of your mouth, and they ricochet downwards out of your mouth, which means you can actually adjust the microphone's vertical position in relation to your mouth to get a different tone. If you want it to sound brighter, for instance, you can position it slightly lower than your mouth. So this is going to be a brighter, clearer sound. And if I want it to sound a little bit darker, I can put it above my mouth because the high-pitched frequencies are coming out, they're coming out downward. So if I lower this way down here below, you'll hear a lot more of those high-pitched frequencies. And of course, if you want the most, the kind of full range sound, you want to get it right about there in the middle. I typically have the microphone about at mouth level, maybe just a little bit lower when I'm using any microphone that happens to be a condenser microphone. And really dynamics as well. This works for everything, just a little extra tip. One very cool thing though is that the thread here to put the microphone either on the magnetic base or onto a mic stand has both the 5/8 and 3/8, I think I got those right, 5/8 and 3/8 adapter built into it, so you can put it on something like a scissor arm, or you can put it on a standard microphone stand, and it's great that you don't have to get an extra adapter to do that. Thanks, Rode. So let's talk about the thing that matters most, the audio quality. I'm going to say the tone of this microphone is neutral. It's neutral in its base position right out of the box without using the RodeConnect software, and we'll get there. It's very exciting. We'll get there. But without using the RodeConnect software or any of the additional processing that comes with it, the bass sound, which is what you're hearing right now, not the bass sound, but like not like the BASS, not the low sound, but the bass sound, the standard sound. You know what I'm talking about. It's kind of neutral. It's not that exciting. It's not that interesting, but it's serviceable. It gets the job done. Like I'm not moved by it. I'm not inspired by it, but it sounds fine. It sounds good. And I like that the proximity effect doesn't get too boomy. The proximity effect is what happens when you get really, really close to a cardioid microphone. This happens with dynamic or condenser microphones. But what typically happens is when you get really close to a cardioid microphone, it gets really, really boomy and muddy. That is not happening here, which I think is fantastic. It sounds kind of fuller. I sound like I'm more in your ears. It's more intimate. So if I really wanted to go for that NPR sound, I could really come in here and make it sound really tasty and really sweet. I don't know what that was. I should not be on NPR. Not that they've asked. All in all, I think this thing sounds great in its natural position, and it's not over accentuating the nasal quality of my voice. I have a real buildup in the mid frequencies around 550, 600 hertz, which sometimes gives my voice a little bit of a nasal quality that I typically take care of in EQ, either in real time or in post. And a lot of USB microphones, especially condenser microphones, tend to have this kind of mid-focused tone, which does not help me at all. And it's got a little bit of it, but I don't think it's doing anything to make it too much worse. I think this is pretty much what the honkiness in my voice right now is pretty much what's there naturally in my voice. I don't think it's doing anything to make it that much worse. So for me, I love it. But your voice is different than mine, and that's the problem with mic reviews. A microphone that sounds great on my voice might sound terrible on your voice and vice versa. You have to remember that when you're watching mic reviews, which is why you should watch you should watch tons of different audio review channels review the same microphone. Like go watch Bandrew on Podcastage, then go watch Curtis Judge. There's a handful of fantastic audio channels out there, and we all have different tonal characteristics to our voices, and so you need to go listen to a bunch of us do these tests, do these reviews, so you can get a sense of how the same mic plays in different environments and on different voices. I mean, let's be honest, you were doing it anyway. What is this? Put it in the comments. Is this the 5th, 6th, 10th, 12th review on this mic you've watched? Tell me how many you've watched before mine. All right, let's do some tests. The first is going to be the Plosives rejection test. Plosives are the puffs of air on P's and B's and T's that come shooting out of your mouth, and when they hit the capsule of a microphone, they create a huge It's a terrible sound, and we're going to find out if the grill built into this mic, because it doesn't come with a pop filter. We're going to see how it does rejecting them. Ready? Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Let's get closer. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. You hear that? All right, so the those are really, really bad. Let's grab a pop filter and try it. Ready? You hear that? I'm getting winded doing that. Hear that? That's a huge difference. So when I'm doing like normal speaking, it seems to be doing pretty much just fine, pretty much just fine, pretty much just fine. You'll notice that pretty much just fine, pretty much just fine. So it's doing an okay job. I'm going to say it's doing a average or less than average job of rejecting plosives. So in my opinion, if I were going to use this for anything that was professional work, or you want to come off as a professional quality, you can actually hear it happening right now. Anything that's going to come off as a professional quality, I would either attach a pop filter to the mic stand and have it here, or I would get something like this and put it over the mic. I don't know if this one would actually fit. Or you can solve this problem by having the microphone slightly off axis. So you can go like this, get it close to your voice, and then talk past it. But what you'll notice is that the tone changes significantly when you're talking off axis. Now, the tone does not change significantly on every microphone. It's something I noticed with this one, that when I'm speaking directly into it versus when I'm speaking off axis past it, there's a significant difference in tonal quality, and let's remember that for later. Now let's do an off-axis rejection test to see how well this mic isolates my voice versus background noise. I can't do that test sitting right here because I'm in a fully professionally treated home studio, and it's pretty much whisper quiet. There's nothing. There's no echo, there's no reverb, there's no reflections, there's nothing in this room, which is not helpful to you because you're probably not sitting in a room like this. So let's do a quick rejection test using a fan. And now a rejection test with my voice. So here I am speaking directly into the front side of the mic, and now I'm speaking directly into the back side of the mic. And now I'm speaking into the back side of the mic, and I'm turning it slightly around to the side, and then I'm turning it all the way until you're hearing my voice straight on again. In my opinion, the off-axis rejection of this microphone is serviceable, but nothing to brag about. It's not going to completely eliminate dogs barking over there, or the air conditioning unit coming on, or somebody slamming a door, or a baby crying, partly because this microphone is so sensitive, and partly because I don't think it's a very, very tight cardioid pattern. I think it's I think it's a normal cardioid pattern and a sensitive mic. So it's not gonna, if you have a lot of background noise, yes, you can make sure that the most egregious background noise is in the back side of the microphone. That will help you some. You can keep the microphone closer to you as well, which will help isolate your voice, but it's not going to work miracles for you. And now let's do a test of the microphone in a treated room versus an untreated room. So as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, this is a fully professionally treated home studio. There's no echo, there's no reflections, there's no reverb at all. So let's do a test of this room versus a different room like a spare bedroom or a dining room. This is what it sounds like in a well-treated home studio. This is what it sounds like when you're in a fairly untreated room, a spare bedroom in your house. And now we're in a dining room. Again, same thing. I mean, this is a much larger room than the spare bedroom I was just in. There's hardwood floors, hard walls. All right, let's take a look at the RodeConnect software. First, you can connect up to 4 of these NT mini USB microphones and use them all within the same mixer. They would all show up here next to this one. As you can see, I'm only using one of them, and you can color coordinate it to the different physical. This is just a. This is just a plastic cap. There's nothing special about this, but if you put all of them on everybody's microphones, then you can color coordinate them inside the RodeConnect software so that visually whoever's running the virtual mixer here will just by color be able to identify who's speaking and who's on what channel. That's kind of cool. That's kind of nice. We have a usable, look at this, a usable input gain meter, which is really, really nice. And you can adjust the level here. You'll notice that as I back it off, I don't know if you heard that pop. I definitely did. As you back off the level, it definitely backs off the input gain. And if I go too high, at some point, it will definitely start clipping. Yep, right about there. Now we're clipping, now we're overloading. And if we come back, for me, this has been working out perfectly. You see that it even gives you the green. You want to stay somewhere in this range to have a nice healthy level without clipping. You also have a record function right here within the software. So if you have been using something like Audio Hijack to do some of this stuff or some other types of virtual mixers, this will take the place of all of that to a certain extent. And this is, of course, how I've been recording my voice for this entire video. And now we get to the really fun stuff. Everything down here, you have 4 options for DSP processing, which is digital signal processing. Essentially, you've got a noise gate, a compressor, an exciter, and a big bottom. And what's really cool about DSP processing as opposed to doing processing in the computer is that even though I'm going to trigger these from software in the computer, it's actually happening on the microphone. The software is going via USB, telling the microphone here to turn on or off the different effects, which is fantastic. And it may not matter to you. You may not know why that matters, but it's the difference between having it happen at the source and then basically all of your sound, what you're capturing is just going in one shot through the USB and getting captured versus sending the sound of a microphone, capturing your voice or capturing your source into the computer and then applying processing in the computer and software. There's going to be an extra bit of latency, an extra bit of a delay, and things can get hung up, especially when live streaming. And that's what you're doing when you use Audio Hijack or something like that. But DSP processing means that these effects are being turned on in the microphone. And let's go through these different tests. First of all, the noise gate. Now, here's what's interesting. I'm in, as you know, as I've said, and you're tired of me hearing, but I have to keep reminding you, I'm in a fully treated home studio, which means these are not conditions you would typically be in. It's whisper quiet, and yet there was a significant difference in the background noise, in just the air in the room, and maybe the fan of the computer and some other stuff when I turned on the noise gate. So I'm going to turn this back off. I'm going to go quiet. I want you to turn up your volume. You're going to listen to a few seconds of silence with the noise gate off. And then I'll turn it on and you'll listen to a few seconds with that. And then I'll give you a visual indicator to let you know that I'm about to start talking again so you can turn your volume back down. Ready? Okay, so the noise gate is doing something significant, which is great. I think I would probably leave that on all the time. I don't hear any significant change in the tone of my voice when I just turned it on right now versus when I turn it off. I'm really only hearing a difference in the background noise. So the compressor is going to squash your voice. Essentially, it's going to reduce the dynamic range. It's going to make the louder stuff quieter, and then it's going to increase the overall level. And so that's when you start to get the real processed radio sound that a lot of people love so much. Let's see how this compressor does. And now the compressor's on, and oh my God, that is aggressive. Do you hear how squashed and how artificial and how unnatural it sounds now with the compressor? Let me keep talking and I'm going to turn it off now, and you'll hear that the dynamics of my voice, the full range of my voice come back in. And then when I turn it back on, my goodness, that is, whoa, listen to how much more sibilant. I do not have a sibilant voice, but if I turn this off, you'll hear that my S's and my T's, they're not that aggressive. My S's and T's are not aggressive, but when I turn this compressor on, my S's and T's, they are right in your face. I do not like this compressor at all. I do not like that at all. All right, we're going to turn that back off. Let's go to the exciter. The exciter should be making the tone brighter, but hopefully without increasing the sibilants, the S's and the T's. So let's turn that on and see. And yeah, it definitely sounds brighter. I'm not sure it needs it, at least for my voice in this room, but it's definitely brighter. Let's turn that back off and you'll hear that. Oh, it's so funny because once you have it brighter, when you turn it off, it sounds a little bit dull. Kind of like at the beginning, I said the tone of this mic is kind of dull, uninspired. So I think maybe turning the exciter on does exactly what it sounds like it should be doing. It's making it a little bit more exciting. All right, and let's test out the big bottom, which is going to give us, hopefully, some real beefy low end. Here we go. Now we've got the big bottom. That is a very big bottom. It's a bit much. It's a bit much. The big bottom is, let's turn it off. I think partly though because I have a deep voice to begin with, and when I turn this on, I feel like it's just making it a little woolly at the bottom, a little bit too much. I'm not sure I like that. So let's try a few combinations. Let's turn everything off as it is now. This is the natural sound. And then here is everything on. So full processing engaged right now. And I feel like this is way too much. I feel like if I turn off the big bottom and I turn off the compressor and I just do the noise gate and the exciter, yeah, this is a nice sound. I mean, this sounds professional. It sounds processed. It sounds radio friendly, podcastery. But if I turn that off, you'll see that, yeah, there's the natural sound that's a little bit dull, but with the noise gate and the exciter on, I think this is a really good tone, but it'll really depend on your voice and your room. Let's talk about some of the drawbacks of this microphone, some of the downsides. Well, first of all, it's not an XLR. It's not a professional XLR microphone. You are stuck with the USB connection. There are a lot of microphones that have come out in the last few years that have USB and XLR, which is wonderful. It gives you the opportunity to use it with professional audio gear in the future if you want to upgrade. You want to get an audio interface or a physical mixing console or anything like that. The beauty of the USB is it gives you the RodeConnect software and the DSP processing, but it would be fantastic, man, if it also had an XLR connector so that if you ever found yourself in a situation with some friends or on somebody else's podcast or who knows what, where someone's using a real mixer, you can actually use this and then just dial in your effects or whatever some other way. For me, as someone who really deeply cares about audio, not having an XLR means I would probably never use this just for that reason, but that is not a consideration for many people. For many people, that's not a drawback. That's a huge advantage because having USB means you don't have to think about all the complicated hardware, all this extra stuff, more money spent, more stuff to bring with you, more things that can go wrong. You can just plug it into your computer and go. So it's a drawback for me, but maybe not for you. Another potential drawback, it's really sensitive. So it's not going to work well in untreated rooms. It's not going to work great in the typical home studio built into a spare bedroom unless you've got some real absorbing stuff on the walls, and it's not going to work well if you have roommates or young children or a lot of like lawn care going on outside a lot because it's not great at rejecting background noise and it's really sensitive. For me, fantastic. I'm in a whisper quiet treated room. For you, maybe not. The Plosives are terrible. It's terrible. Rode, it's terrible. So you would definitely need an additional pop filter, or you need to speak at an angle, which, as we've discussed, changes the tone significantly. And maybe that's fine with you, but I find the change in tone very phasey. I'm not a big fan of it versus speaking directly into it. And so if it were me using this, I would probably be putting a pop filter in front of it, but that also would aesthetically detract from the very, very nice, sleek, clean, professional look of this microphone. And now my number one biggest drawback that I'm so frustrated by, and Rode, you should fix this right now. You're hearing me say this on this video, fix it right now and email me when it's done so I can tell people you fixed it. The RodeConnect software doesn't have an audio delay? What? You might be wondering, what's an audio delay? Why does it matter? Well, here's what happens is video transfers via USB much slower than audio does. And so by having audio going in directly via USB and then the camera going HDMI to a capture card or an ATEM Mini, which is a capture card, and then going into the computer means if you're live streaming, your audio and your video will not line up. And I proved this when I did exactly that on a live stream testing this microphone a little while back. But this is a direct USB microphone. So this mic is going directly into the computer via USB, in fact, via USB-C, which means that it's not perfectly synced up because typically you need to do a little audio delay. And things like the ATEM Mini line actually have in their software the ability to do an audio delay, basically a sync that you can adjust by up to 8 frames how much you want the audio to be delayed so that it stays in sync with the video during live streaming or direct-to-disc recording, essentially. There's no reason the RodeConnect software should not have this in there, and to me, that makes this mic unusable. It's unusable because I don't use the webcam built into my computer. If I was using the webcam built into my computer, this would probably stay in sync with that via, going USB directly into the computer, using the webcam built into the computer. That would probably stay in sync, but I don't do that, and hardly anybody does that anymore, certainly not serious content creators. So there's no reason not to add an audio delay into the RodeConnect software. It should be as easy as doing an update and giving us that in the preferences menu somewhere. But until that, I literally could not use this microphone. Totally useless for me. Final thoughts on the Rode NT Mini USB. I'm terrible with all these product names. My final thoughts, it's really fun. I like this microphone. It's fun. The RodeConnect software makes it feel like there's a future of possibilities because they could continually update the software and give us new options. It's tiny, it's sleek, it's professional looking. It's really nice. You could throw it in your travel bag and use it anywhere. And the fact that it does have that magnetic base means that even though I'm like, oh, it's useless. I mean, if you're on the road and you didn't want to bring an additional mic stand or even a tabletop stand, like something like this, because this is actually pretty heavy. If you didn't want to bring anything like that with you, yeah, you could just, you could prop it up on some books and make it work, or you could pop it on the desk and do your best with it, and that's great. So I think this is a lot of fun. It's got a lot of potential with the DSP processing on, especially the exciter. It sounds really good, and I love all of the features in the RodeConnect software. If only it had an audio delay. Well, there you go. That is a full rundown of the Rode NT USB Mini, Rode NT Mini USB. What questions do you have? Would you like any tutorials, any future demos? Do you want to see me do a blind audio comparison with other USB microphones on the market? Let me know in the comments below what you'd like to see in a future video. Like this video if you found it helpful, useful, interesting, exciting. Subscribe to the channel to sound better and level up. And I'll see you soon.